B'Shem Hashem Na'aseh v'Natzliach. We know this week's Parsha is Shelach. And we read about two heroes in this week's Parsha, Kalev and Yoshua. Look in chapter 38, Pasuk Yud 14. It says, V'Yoshua ben Nun v'Kalev ben Yefuneh chayu min ha'anashim ha'em ha'olchim latur et ha'aretz. Unfortunately, 10, the vast majority of the princes of the Jews died in a very tragic and painful way because they spoke evil about the Holy Land and ultimately about God, our benevolent and unlimitedly kind Creator. But there were two people out of all the Jews were living in 40 years. For 40 years they were living in the desert. Every single Jewish male that came out of Egypt died. Only two lived. Who are those two people? From the Israelites, Kalev, the prince of tribe of Yehuda, and the leader of the Jews, the successor of Moshe, Yehoshua. So the Torah says that these people lived amongst the spies, and Rashi says, what does it mean they lived? It means not only did they live, but they lived to take over the real estate, the portion that belonged to the other 10 princes. Which means that they became the replacement. All that real estate that belonged in the Holy Land to the 10 of their colleagues that did evil and talk gossip, Lashon Hara about Israel. So Rav Aaron KOTLER, the great Lakewood Rosh Yeshiva, says, what do we learn from here? It says, in life you need to be a hero. You need to stand for what's right, even nobody else has the courage to do that. And if you do that, God gives you all the gifts, and God gives you unlimited blessing. And that's the lesson of this week's Parsha. There's a fascinating Yerushalmi that says that if you see, Rab Shimon Ber Yochai says, if you see a generation when people don't care about learning Torah, Adam la'amal yulad, we were only created to learn Torah. If people are reckless and careless about the study of Torah, and you have the integrity and the basic knowledge to know that there's no other reason for creation but to know your God, to understand Him, and that's only possible for the learning Torah, you get the reward of the whole generation. And really, Rav Aaron KOTLER says a fascinating Gemara in Chagiga. I beg you, go look up this Gemara. It's page again 14, and it says that the Gemara in Chagiga Daf Tedvav Amud Aleph says Hashem created righteous and wicked. He created hell and heaven and hell. Every person in the world before he's born has two portions. He has the potential to be in hell, the potential to be in heaven. He says if he is meritorious and uses his life in the right way, the Gemara says, Zacha Sadiq Natal Chelko V'Gan Eden. The Sadiq not only deserves and earns his own portion in the world to come, but he's also going to take over the portion of his colleague, which is wicked. And the same thing, the Rasha, Natal Chelko V'Chelek, the evil and wicked person, the Rasha Merusha, not only does he inherit his own place in hell, also the place that was destined for the Sadiq, he also gets. Now, Rav Aaron KOTLER explains why is this, because he says, first of all, the explanation is that when the world was created for us to be connected to God. The most deepest and fundamental connection is to know God. That's only through Torah. So since when the whole world abandoned and went out to have fun and be silly and abandoned the knowledge of God, to break their head to know why they're here, what's their mission, and to fulfill their mission. So basically, when you were like Kalev and Yoshua, everybody else found it convenient to backstab God and the land of Israel and say Israel is no good. The land of milk and honey is a land of disease and giants and make everybody depressed. And that's how the worst night of the year, Tisha B'Av, No'i, was created. But when you trust God and love God and learn His Torah to always know Him better, you have fulfilled the reason for creation where everybody hasn't. That's why not only have you fulfilled your own potential, you've fulfilled the macro and global potential of mankind. That's why you deserve such a great reward. Secondly, we human beings are animals of peer pressure, of our contemporary society. If you have that unlimited and great integrity, imagine this was a terrible test. These were their comrades and colleagues, the 10 other tribe princes. If you have the integrity and courage to stand up for what's true, then that's why the global and golden rule of God giving us reward is kefum sara agra. No pain, no gain. The more you have pain and challenges in doing a mitzvah, the more reward you get. And that's why, really, in the Gemara in Chagig is saying that when everybody else was wicked, like in this week's Parsha, or like in the time of Noach, but you had the integrity and the fortitude of character to fear God rather than fear people, then you deserve a tremendous reward. And that's why all the other men, a lot of people don't know, perished because they either did the golden calf sin or they listened to Lashon Hara. But since these two great heroes, one of them being Yehoshua, one of them being Kalev, they defended the land of Israel. That's why they inherited an unbelievably large amount of real estate and took over the portion of the 10 other princes and tribesmen. Now, the amazing thing that we could learn from this week's Parsha is so important. We're right at the beginning of summer. A lot of people are getting graduated. And right now, a lot of people are liberal and non-conservative friends have been defaming the land of Israel. And again in history, we have the chance to stand up for what's right, to stand up for what's true, and not be ashamed and say, no, Am Yisrael Chai. God gave us this gift, this golden gift of a land. And sometimes in life we become so depressed. It's the summer. Those wonderful high school girls and boys or kids that have gone to a nice religious and observant school during the year, they would have never dreamt of dressing non-modestly. But now, they're not in their comfort zone. They go on a vacation and they think that God is not watching us. But know this, whenever the whole world is just out having fun and not studying Torah, and this message is for a lot of yeshivas. The yeshivas are going to be off, a lot of them, for 2 years, for 2 months in the summer. Some of them 2.5 months, some of them close to 3 months. If all your friends are just having fun and wasting their time playing video games or God knows what, but you have the integrity of what? Doing what's right and studying Torah, you get the reward of all those other people. And same thing, if the whole world has abandoned modesty in your family, but you're the Baal Teshuvah, you're the person that fears God and loves God and knows that whether you're here in LA or on a vacation on wherever in the world, we cannot change our standards. Then you're following in the footsteps of who? Yehoshua and Kalev. And then you get an unlimited reward from God. The same thing is, a lot of times people, it's such a terrible thing, it's come to my attention, people talk behind other people's back, and then as a group everybody starts defaming and making fun of that innocent person, or they bully him in front of his face. Never go along with evil. Listen to your conscience. Don't be ashamed. Have the courage to be a lion. That's the great Mishnah we read every day at the beginning of our prayers. Hava'az kanamer. We have to be brazen as a leopard and never be ashamed to stand up for the truth, because God is the truth. After we accept the yoke of God and we say Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad, we end it with the words Emet. God is true. Never be ashamed to stand up for the truth. And ultimately, all those other people that were cowards and didn't stand up for the truth, and you stood up for the right thing, you're going to get all of their other reward. All of those people could have gained a great portion in the Garden of Eden for standing up for the truth. But they didn't have the integrity. They were too weak. They weren't mentally strong enough. If you have the courage and the power like Kalev and Yehoshua, you're going to get the reward for all of them. So never be ashamed to follow the Torah, to do the right thing, and your reward will be unlimited, and you'll take the portion and the Gan Eden, the heaven of all their colleagues. Hashem should help us to be strong.